to the coast, to the port. And the remote viewers looked and they saw some plans and they said, well, in a year when they've built the submarine, they're going to build a canal from this building to the shore, and they're going to launch the submarine that way. And later, satellite pictures showed that was true. After a year, the canal was built, and the submarine came out. They saw it. So the point is that some people still are able to manifest a lot of these powers that we're trying to duplicate with our technology. And of course, the technology is tied into material production and consumption, which means you have to pay for it. And, there's, profit considerations, and there's competition among the different companies that are offering these things, and the governments want to control what's going on with the web and the internet and this and that. So you're getting the technology, but you're also getting all the people who want to exploit the technology, for their selfish purposes, which means you get the viruses, you get the scams, you get the spam, you get, there's a price to pay for it. So, anyways,
it's interesting to note though also that this kind of parapsychology aspect or in terms of remote viewing, that in this day and age, it's being used by institutions who kind of is the cusp of materialism, if you will. The military are going into these fields in order to explore, at the end of the day, for materialistic purposes, if you will, for this competitive based thing. But it's still a very, very interesting point, obviously. Absolutely.
So that's the so whether we're talking about the paranormal technologies or the material technologies, they can be used for either good or evil, you could say.
Sure.
It depends on the consciousness of the people involved. Like you said, the internet, the web can provide a way for breaking down a lot of these barriers, but they can also, those same technologies can also be used to, they can be exploited in such a way as to increase these things. It's and there are lots of debates about who's going to control the web and access to it, and different nations are now starting to control it, block sites and this and that. But ultimately, and then there are other kinds of people trying to use it for their own purposes. So what's really important is not the technology itself, you could say, but the consciousness of the people that are using it, which is why I always go back to the consciousness aspect of things. And the focus on technology is something that is a result of certain decisions that were made 4 or 5 centuries ago in Europe. Because if you go back to Western Europe 4 or 5 centuries ago, they had a picture of reality that was very much like the picture of reality that I'm talking about, a picture of reality that involved vital forces, consciousness, the idea that there's intelligent beings all over the cosmos, that we live in a multi-level cosmos that's inhabited by different sorts of beings adapted to the features of existence on these different levels, that there are more subtle realms of intelligent life and things of that sort. These were very common ideas, even in the West, even in Western Europe 4 or 5 centuries ago. But around that time, certain groups of scientists got together and decided, well, we just have to focus on matter that we can control in our experiments and get predictable, reproducible results. We can't be dealing with all this alchemical stuff and spiritual stuff that requires a whole different mindset. They wanted to just focus on matter. And it was very productive in the sense that they learned how to control matter in some very interesting ways, and that's the source of all our technologies. But by leaving out these other aspects of reality, by marginalizing these other aspects of reality, they did get a huge benefit in terms of technology, but we can see that there's a downside to that, because with the technologies have also come the wars, the economic crises, the environmental destruction, the intense levels of conflict that we see in the world today, and the increasing levels of unhappiness, that we see in people all over the world. They're very disappointed with the lives that they've been given, in the sense that, yes, they work, very hard, but then they find their pensions disappear, their jobs disappear, it becomes a very frustrating situation that, we've got all this great technology, but because we've left out, we've marginalized these other aspects of reality, there's a cost, that. So I think it's a question of balance. Say, like, if you're eating too much of the wrong kinds of food, it's going to be bad for your health. You're not going to feel as full of energy as you should. You're going to suffer for different reasons. But the solution isn't to stop eating. The solution is to eat the right amounts of the right kinds of food.
Right.
And that may mean cutting down on the amount of food that you're eating and being more selective in the kinds of food that you're eating. So in terms of this technology, it's not a question of eliminating technology. It's having the right kinds of technologies that are, because I think what we should be using our technology for is to find ways of producing the material necessities of life in the most natural, efficient way possible.
Right.
And that means not trying to give people, get them to buy as much as possible consumer goods. What they need, what they actually need to live in this world in a nice way. So we should be using our technologies. We shouldn't be trying to eliminate technology. I think technology can be part of the solution. I think a lot of people in the tech industries, the IT industries, are actually trying to do that, but because they're working in a system that demands that they produce in such a way that they survive in the intense levels of competition that there are in the economic world today, they wind up overproducing, overconsuming,
and even to be argued further, a lot of the technological developments are being run by defense budgets, and it's a lot of military gear also that actually could be argued that most of the technological advances have been because of a need from a military point of view, television, radio, telegraph, etc. So,
well, what a lot of people don't realize is that, like computer games, people are very much into games now. Computer game industry is now bigger than Hollywood. Everybody's involved in producing, these computer games, playing them, virtual reality systems. It's like, what many people don't realize is that the technology for those games was invented for war gaming purposes. Like the militaries, they wanted to be able to have a way to say they have, they're going to have a tank battle. All right, you got 1,000 tanks, fighting 1,000 tanks, and they want to have, there are a couple ways you can do that. You can actually put 2,000 tanks out in the desert and run war games. Another way to do it is to do it virtually, where you have individual operators in their individual virtual tanks fighting on a virtual battlefield. And that's where the computer gaming industry comes from. It's, they used to talk about the military industrial complex. Now there's the military entertainment complex. So the companies that developed those wargaming virtual reality systems for the militaries were licensed